Salaries in big cities are shrinking. The Chinese dream of white-collar workers is being shattered. Two strange phenomena in China's economy are becoming more and more prominent. Experts expose corruption in China's football sector, bribery, collusion, gambling. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Salaries in big cities are shrinking. The Chinese dream of white-collar workers is being shattered. The salaries of white-collar employees in finance, technology and other industries in big cities such as Beijing and Shanghai in China have recently shown a general downward trend, with recruitment salaries in Shanghai falling by 9% year-on-year. American media believe that this has cast a shadow over China's economic recovery prospects and that the Chinese dream of the Chinese middle class is being shattered. Data released by the Chinese recruitment website Jillian Recruitment shows that in the second quarter of this year, recruitment salaries in Shanghai and Beijing fell by 9% and 6% year-on-year respectively, which was the largest decline since 2015. At the same time, recruitment salaries in Shenzhen, Guangzhou and Hangzhou have also declined to varying degrees. Bloomberg published an article on Wednesday, September 13, saying that the above-mentioned statistics are in sharp contrast to the data previously released by the Chinese Communist Party's official figures on rising wages across the country. For white-collar workers in China's big cities, while recruitment salaries have dropped sharply, they are also facing cuts in various benefits including travel expenses and meal allowances. The article stated that China's star industries such as finance and technology have borne the brunt of this wave of salary reductions. Some senior Chinese bankers have experienced salary reductions as high as 40%. Even government positions with stable salaries in the past are not immune. And just as Beijing is trying to restore consumer confidence, the downward spiral of wages is causing people to further cut back on spending. The article analysis points out that in order to escape the middle-income trap and curb social unrest, the Beijing authorities must find a way to create better employment opportunities for urban residents. However, the heavy debts borne by local governments have greatly restricted the policy space of the authorities. Bloomberg reporters interviewed 18 people working in the private sector in government and found that these white-collar workers are increasingly worried about job security and personal expenses. Despite growing dissatisfaction, city workers of all ages are willing to accept deep pay cuts, fewer benefits, and longer hours to keep their jobs. The article stated that there are many reasons for the decline in wages. The economic slowdown caused by 3 years of costly epidemic prevention and control measures has made many employers' already stretched budgets even tighter. This is a major reason. For many powerful companies, the bigger challenge is the Common Prosperity campaign launched by the Chinese Communist Party authorities. This movement aims to curb the disorderly expansion of capital of private companies, prompting these companies to impose salary limits on employees, cut wages and reduce various subsidies and benefits. For example, China's top investment bank CITIC Securities has cut the basic salary of some senior staff by 15%. China International Capital Corporation, CICC, requires its senior staff to fly economy class when traveling on business, and can only book the cheapest tickets on most trains for hard seat. Mr. Eason, the business director of a commercial bank in Shanghai, revealed to Bloomberg that his bank's performance last year achieved double-digit growth and his personal performance was also outstanding, but he still received a 10% salary cut. Mr. Eason said, "On the one hand, the authorities encourage families to increase consumption, but on the other hand they require salary reductions and salary limits. It is not easy for financial institutions to keep wages stable." A Hong Kong banker who does business with mainland clients said China's financial industry is lying flat as bonuses have been reduced and employee morale is low. Mr. Huang, the manager of a new media company in Hangzhou, revealed that his company has laid off 1/3 of its workforce in the past 3 years and may continue to lay off employees in the future. Mr. Huang said, before the pandemic, the company's goal was to go public. Now, everyone's consensus is to seize possible survival opportunities. Two strange phenomena in China's economy are becoming more and more prominent. There is a consensus that China's economy continues to decline and decline. At present, two strange phenomena in China's economy are becoming more and more prominent. Households are depositing more and more money, and people's consumption is constantly downgrading. Strange phenomena about deposits and consumption. The People's Bank of China released the latest financial data on September 11th. The balance of M2, broad money supply, has reached 287 trillion yuan. There's already a lot of money around, but it cannot nourish the real economy. A liquidity black hole has formed. The industry joked that the central bank's money printing machine is already smoking. It is still lowering reserve requirements and interest rates to release liquidity, but no amount of funds can help China's economy. The current state of China's economy, the central bank is trying its best to stimulate, but the economy is sitting up in shock while dying of illness and hanging in the intensive care unit. Data also showed that in the first 8 months of this year, deposits increased by 20 trillion yuan. Breaking down the data, we can see that the largest deposits are held by households, that is, the deposits of the Chinese people. In August, household deposits increased by 787.7 billion yuan. In 2022, household deposits increased by 17.84 trillion yuan, setting a historical record for the largest annual increase in deposits since data are available. This year's increase in household deposits is likely to exceed last year's figure. After all, the first 8 months of this year have exceeded the annual increase in household deposits in any of the 3 years from 2019 to 2021. By the end of August this year, the balance of household deposits was 132.73 trillion yuan. Do Chinese people have more and more money? However, people's consumption has been continuously downgraded. It can be seen from two aspects. 1. The rapid rise of e-commerce Pinduoduo, especially in 3rd and 4th tier cities and administrative regions such as counties and townships, has surpassed fellow e-commerce company JD.com in a short period of time and is approaching the level of established e-commerce companies such as Tmall. From the perspective of Pinduoduo's model, the way to win is undoubtedly small profits but quick turnover. To put it bluntly, cheapness is its signature. 2. Wholesale markets and flea markets are more popular than supermarkets. For example, the Daliu Guangxin Market in Beijing is a huge building complex with thousands of stalls, ranging from clothes to shoes to accessories. All kinds of goods can be found. It is usually a place frequented by students, migrant workers, and retired people looking for cheap goods. Clothing priced at 15 to 50 yuan is the most popular and now also attracts the attention of the middle class. With little growth in wages and pensions and high uncertainty in the job market, more than 1/5 of China's young people are unemployed, according to official data. In a worrying economic environment, family confidence and spending power have been hampered. It can be seen that two strange phenomena are becoming more and more prominent. People are saving more and more, and people's consumption is constantly downgrading. Behind this is the deep-seated social problem of the huge gap between rich and poor. According to official population data, per capita savings are nearly 100,000 yuan, and former Chinese Prime Minister Li Keqiang once said that 600 million people earn only 1,000 yuan a month. Where will common prosperity go? Evergrande Group, which has been in debt for 2 years, has stated that it continues to repay its debts, but according to its annual report, the total debt has increased. Su Jiayin, the founder of Evergrande Group, seems to the outside world to be actively trying to solve the debt crisis. However, this does not prevent him from wearing a Hermes belt, drinking mutai, and living in a mansion. The bosses of the top 20 real estate companies in China were all having fun during the golden age of real estate, because money came so easily at that time. After taking the land from the government, they would produce the design drawings in 3 days, and then when the sand and gravel were being transported to the construction site, the bank's development loan was about to be approved. Construction could start in 5 days, and pre-sales could be carried out after that. People lined up to buy houses and grabbed off the plan apartments. Then, they repeated the same thing again and again. These bosses often called officials from the Urban Construction, Development and Reform Commission and other functional departments to play golf, go to the sea, eat and drink, etc., until late at night. Then the next day, they did it all again. During this process, some urban plans were modified to meet their requirements. The Huruan Research Institute of China released the 2022 Huruan Wealth Report on March 10, showing that there are 49,000 international ultra-high net worth families at the top of the pyramid with at least $30 million in investable assets in mainland China. The total number of households in the country was 490 million. The number of invisible rich people from the CCP's powerful families is even more difficult to calculate. They have been involved in oil, telecommunications, finance, and other fields for decades. In the past 3 years, Beijing has used the pretext of epidemic control to conduct a large-scale taming exercise against the people and all social classes. The Chinese people definitely don't want to be treated like animals and monitored all the time. They are in danger of being banned, disappeared, and committed suicide. Their wealth and even pets are also threatened to be confiscated and destroyed. Under such circumstances, the common prosperity proposed by Xi Jinping seems beautiful, but it makes people ponder, where will China's economy go? Where will China go? Experts expose corruption in China's football sector, bribery, collusion, gambling. In late August, the Chinese Football Association, CFA, announced that Lu Jun, deputy leader of the CFA preparatory group and chairman of the Chinese Super League Company Limited, had been arrested for investigation by China's top discipline inspection agency. Lu Jun is the 14th important figure in Chinese football sector to be investigated since the former national football coach Li Tai was arrested in November last year in the country's anti-corruption campaign in the football sector. So far, 6 leaders of the Chinese Super League have been dismissed. The sensational crisis in soccer sector. China's anti-corruption campaign in football and sports started last year, and the number of senior officials under investigation have hit high records. According to VOA, since February 2023, a series of Chinese Football Association and sports officials have been dismissed, including the first full-time chairman of the Chinese Football Association Chen Shuyuan, his promoted former Deputy Secretary General Chen Yongliang and Direct Secretary General Liu Yi. The other big names include Wang Xiaoping, Director of the Disciplinary Committee of the Chinese Football Association, Huang Song, Director of the Competition Department of the Chinese Football Association, Yu Hongchen, Chairman of the Chinese Athletics Association, Dong Jing, former General Manager of the Chinese Super League Company, Li Yui, former Vice Chairman of the Chinese Football Association, Du Xiaokai, former Deputy Director of the State Sports General Administration, Ma Chengquan, former Chairman of the Chinese Super League Company, and others. These high-ranking officials in China's football sector have been placed under investigation for serious violations of discipline and law. In March this year, Gao Zhidan, Director of the General Administration of Sport of China, told the media, "We are determined to use strong medicine to eliminate malaise and impose strict laws to control chaos, resolutely crack down on and severely punish corruption and fake gambling in football and other fields." Xinhua news agency reported that the central government launched an inspection of the Communist Party group of the State Sports General Administration. Mr. Chen, a Beijing resident, has been watching football since 1995. He told VOA that, since the beginning of the Jin Yuan era of Chinese football, the entire sector has become a very abnormal development state. He said, "Professionalism is not put first, but money is put first." The Chinese Football Association always believed that money would solve the problem, but found that this was not the case. Chen believes there has been collective corruption in China's football sector. Alex, a Chinese sports reporter, told VOA that this is the most powerful crackdown in terms of scale, number of people, and high level in the football sector. Many previous presidents of the Chinese Football Association have been investigated, including Li Tai, former head coach of the Chinese men's football team. Entanglements between Chinese soccer and real estate industry. In October 2001, the famous 5 rats in Class A and B incident broke out in the Chinese football sector. Song Weiping, then boss of the Zhujiang team, announced the expulsion of 5 problematic players in the team and submitted a blacklist to the Chinese Football Association. In 2002, international football referee Gong Jianping was taken away by the police and later sentenced to 10 years in prison. He became the first referee in Chinese football history to be sentenced to prison for bribery and match fixing. Since then, relevant agencies have launched 3 waves of anti-corruption campaigns in the football sector, and many officials have been punished, including 3 vice chairmen of the Chinese Football Association and 2 directors of the referee committee. Sports reporter Alex, who has watched and commented on soccer for years, said that, back then, Chinese leader Xi Jinping loved football, and Britain even gave him a Manchester City jersey. When Su Jian, chairman of the property giant Evergrande Group, saw that she liked it, he immediately spent money and bought so many foreign players from all over the world. At that time, Evergrande's salary for them was much higher than that in Europe, and they have poached a lot of stars. Mr. Chen, a Beijing resident, said that when real estate developers entered the football sector on a large scale more than 10 years ago, it was a golden period. But problems began to arise after the COVID pandemic. It led to the departure of top foreign players and made the Chinese league lose its previous appeal. Whole system is corrupt. Of course, corruption in the Chinese football sector did not happen overnight. It began before major real estate developers invested huge sums of money. The phenomenon of collusion between the gambling industry and match-fixing teams has always existed. Reporter Alex commented, "This is a huge industrial chain, definitely not just a few people. You need coaches, players, referees, many factors, sometimes even match-fixing on both sides. So the whole system is corrupt." Alex said that they were all involved in conspiracy and gambling. The reporter said that when Marcelo Lippi was the coach of Guangzhou Evergrande Club, he helped the team win several AFC Champions League titles. He then moved to China's national team. He resigned, because he couldn't do anything anymore. He couldn't control the players. He knew that the players were involved in gambling. Alex gave an example. In the World Cup qualifiers, the Chinese team played against Vietnam, a weaker team. Everyone thought that no matter how bad China was, it would be impossible to lose to the Vietnamese team. But the betting companies asked the Chinese team if they could arrange to lose, so the team could earn a lot of money. Alex said that if he participated in betting, he would definitely lose the bet on the Chinese team. The reporter explained, "Because I know that they have a low level in match fixing. They have this habit. Many people think that it is impossible for the national team to fix matches in the World Cup, but it does. And this is not the first time that the Chinese team has done this." He added, 11 players, plus a dozen substitutes, may not all bet on the ball, but with a few people betting, you can change the result. For example, the goalkeeper, or the defender. Sometimes in football, the score is 1-0, 2-0, or even 0-0. Just buying 2 or 3 players can change the outcome of the entire game. Alex said that the bookmakers that arrange match fixing are all small and medium-sized bookmakers in Macau and Asia. These gaming companies resort to evil ways to make quick money. Coach Li Tai is the small head, and the real big money is all taken away by these gaming companies. Alex believes that although the Chinese government officials may not have direct connections with the gambling industry on the surface, they are ultimately the beneficiaries of the interest chain. The sports reporter said that ordinary officials cannot directly manipulate the results of the game, but football players have to deal with the officials. What they want is that the officials will not be held accountable, and only those who are not close to them and have not paid them will be held accountable. Over the years, there have been reports of match fixing, but these officials have been suppressing them and dealing with them selectively. The match-fixing manipulations by the Chinese officials mentioned by Alex once happened with the case of Xia Yalong, the former vice chairman of the Football Association. According to a 2010 report by the Yangtze Evening News, one of Xia Yalong's major crimes was match-fixing and betting, involving professional league championships. The report said that, in order to gain an advantage in the competition for the championship, some teams often bribe the top management of the Football Association to manipulate the results of several games. After receiving the money, the top officials of the Football Association would instruct the person in charge of referees to achieve their goals by appointing official whistles, and then they will jointly divide the stolen money. According to the report, accepting bribes from players, coaches and even clubs is the easiest way for those in power to make money. For example, when Xia Yalong was in power, Jia Xiuquan paid tribute to Xia Yalong in order to become the coach of the national youth team and join the coaching staff of the 2008 National Olympic team. Afterwards, the coach earned back his money by collecting huge team fees from the players. These huge team fees did not just go into the coach's pocket, because it was Xia Yaolong who was in charge of the national team at the time who could ultimately make the final decision on the national team players. Alex told VOA, "There is no hope for Chinese football within 30 years, because it will take several generations. The biggest harm to China is that many parents are unwilling to send their children to play football. Football really reflects the government's management of Chinese society. That is, the Football Association represents the government's supervision, but it has completely failed." Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.